This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
Anthony for three. Bang!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast. I am Ruckus.
And I'm Ruckus the Menace.
And on this episode, we will be talking NFL free agency, both waves 1 and 2. We'll be talking our starting lineup, the good, bad, and ugly, as per usual. The high heat, which is free agency for the NFL. And then our color commentary, which is also rating some free agency moves that have happened for NFL free agency, and then our primetime game, where Spinnis makes up a concoction.
Just a couple of quick little things to test Ruckus.
Yep, and then our usual stud and dud. Before we go on, do we want to kind of give a quick rundown for what we're doing this episode?
Well, this episode is truly our 1-year anniversary episode. However, the party is gonna get moved to a later date that is still to be determined at the moment. We decided to move it due to just some scheduling issues and other things along the way, so we can kind of take this episode and kind of make it a little bit more standard, and then ultimately celebrate everything along the way. Other than that, I mean, we've got ourselves an episode today that is still going to be loaded with a bunch of sport content, but we have not ruled anything out as far as the future fun. We just have had to move it.
Right. We are still doing it. It's not that it was canceled, it's just postponed for now.
Yes, it is currently postponed due to scheduling conflicts, future moves, a whole bunch, like a few different things kind of along the way.
It also gives us more time to do more thinking on certain things, but yeah, it definitely it will definitely happen, just not right away. Anywho, do you want me to start my pregame warm up?
Yeah, we can kind of go whichever way we want to. Yeah, go ahead and kick it off, because I know mine's going to be probably a little bit longer, but not much.
All right. So, what I was doing last week, since we didn't have a episode last Wednesday due to me being on the road on my road trip. So this time it's me having the road trip. I wasn't going to West Virginia, but I did go to a faraway land at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. And you could say, in a sense, I became a Florida man for a week. And let me tell you, it was a lot of fun. So to sum it up, my favorite rides I took. So the first day was Animal Kingdom, or the first, I should say, park day was Animal Kingdom. The first ride we actually did was the Avatar ride, because we figured it was gonna be forever to wait in that line anyways. But if you get there the first thing that morning at the park, you have a better chance to get in line quicker and or out quick. So we did that, and man, I'm just gonna tell you straight up that the like entry to the ride looks beautiful for one, but two, the actual ride experience itself, dude, you put the icing on the cake when you were telling me about it. But man, the flight of passage, whoo, it is it's awesome. Like the immersiveness of feeling like you're on like a living creature that is flying you around something kind of like in Soarin', except for in Soarin' it's more of like a hand glider or like a sky kind of thing that you just like sit in while like going over monuments and things like that. Whereas in Avatar, you're literally on a human, not human, a like alien like flying dragon kind of deal, and it has like gills and stuff that expand and decompress right on your legs because you're like in the ride. I'm not really giving this ride justice when it comes to like how it is, but like it kind of feels like you're on a bike and like your legs are positioned at like in like a position where like you're kind of like
Sport bike, pretty much.
like squatting in a sense, but like in a like there's still a seat and stuff, but like the when you're like putting your feet on the ground, it kind of feels like you're in like a mid squat.
Yeah, that's what I
Uh,
said. Almost like a sport bike. I was thinking like you're almost in like a sport bike.
yeah, and dude, your legs will like feel the collapsing and decompressing, or and um breathing of the banshee's like gills, and it's super cool. I rode it twice that day, and then the next day got even better as we went to Hollywood Studios at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And as soon as I saw the new stuff that happened with the park, because before it was just like a Hollywood backstage kind of area that was closed off, and they opened that up and they made a paradise for Star Wars nerds like me. And my god, as soon as I walked in to that area, not only was I immersed with the area that was like, or the world that was Star Wars, I saw two people walking away from Galaxy's Edge with frickin' Jedi cloaks. And I told myself, kind of in a Chris Collingsworth way, saying, "No way, that just can't happen." But what did happen was after I rode Smuggler's Run for the first time, which was pretty damn cool. I was a pilot. Pretty much my objective was to lead the ship left or right or keep it steady. But as soon as I saw those cloaks, I was telling myself and my dad and my brother-in-law, like, yo, straight up, I'm buying a Jedi cloak as soon as I could find one. And after riding that ride and then waiting for my sister and my mom to get through the ride, I bought a cloak. And it was money well spent because that day it was raining off and on, and that was kind of like my poncho in a sense. Um, but dude, that day was awesome. I bought a droid as well and built one. I made it all red for Chiefs Red Kingdom. Um, and then the other couple days were very relaxing and fun. And yeah, dude, the highlight of my trip was Hollywood Studios, and then going to Epcot and doing the Cosmic Rewind ride, which is a roller coaster, but it's kind of like Rock and Roller Coaster on crack, in my opinion. Because with Rock and Roller Coaster, which it was under refurbishment when I went, they had that one was Aerosmith themed, and it was a roller coaster that went really fast and played plethora
Yeah,
of Aerosmith
yeah,
songs.
would play an Aerosmith song based on the car you were in.
Yeah, and it was freaking awesome. But I was really like disappointed when I heard it was under refurbishment. But what I didn't know was Cosmic Rerun was pretty much that. But when I was writing it, I didn't know whether it was different songs, kind of like in Aerosmith, or if they changed it up with like the music for each like visit, kind of like with the other newer rides, like with Star Tours. So I wrote it, and in the background they're playing "Burn Baby Burn," while there was like this freaking like light altering experience happening, and I was literally just headbanging the whole time because I'm like, yes, let's go. Like the song just fit so well with like what was going on. So I was like headbanging, but also trying to pay attention to what the hell was going on in the storyline. I'm just like, yeah, I was rocking out, and I was like, this is so much better than Rock and Roller Coaster because it's just the whole experience, the pre-show and everything. I'm just like, holy shit, this is awesome. And
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, that Cosmic Rewind has came about. The last time I went was back in 2018, so Star Wars was still under development. So it's been a few years. So there's a few welcome things that would say, "Hey, it'd be a good time. It'd be a decent time for me to go back."
dude, I would probably wait. I don't know what their future plans are for rides, but if you plan on going anytime soon, like later in like the fall maybe or next year, it'd probably be the best because then you would get the mix of because I think they're gonna be doing virtual queues for like newer rides because they did the virtual queue for Cosmic Rewind when I went, and you like literally had to get into like the virtual queue right at 7 a.m. to maybe even have a chance at like riding the ride that day, and the
Well,
virtual queue is free, but you still had to like wait in it
yeah,
in
and
like a
it's
group, and it's not bad, but it was still like gut wrenching because you don't know if you're actually gonna get into the queue when it first does it, but it's free to join into it, so you don't have to like pay a premium just to get into the line in the first place.
yeah, I didn't get to yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy was one of those that kind of started out a little like it came out more recently. I haven't been since 2018, so I was 1 year too early for Galaxy's Edge, and now about 4 or 5 years too early for Tron and some of the others. But I know the future plans involve Splash Mountain being rebranded for Princess and the Frog, and
Yeah, that
obviously,
that was so close. Whenever I went, I was like, I was kind of like, I saw like them pretty much, uh, kind of like ripping it down for now,
yeah,
and that was kind of a, I mean, it is what it is. But they still had Big Thunder Mountain Railroad open. It kind of felt like they moved Big Thunder Mountain in a sense, but I don't know. For some reason in my mind, I thought Big Thunder Mountain was like closer in the like in the middle of Frontierland, I believe is what it's called.
yeah. I think just the map scale is a little like it puts Splash Mountain and Big Thunder Mountain like so close. Like it feels like it's so close together on the map, but then it ends up being like much further away when you actually measure it out with actual footsteps.
Yeah. Um but yeah, uh what I was going to say earlier was pretty much that yeah, the best time would probably be to go like around the fall or next year if you decide to go again, because then Tron will probably be easier to get to, but the line queues like for the virtual queue is something you gotta be careful with. You gotta make sure that you get in the virtual queue like as soon as you get into the park, like at 7 a.m. or whatever. But other than that, like it's not too bad to like easily get in and understand how that works. Um, but yeah, my favorite moments of the trip were Hollywood Studios with Star Wars stuff. That stuff was so cool. We even went to the cantina over there, Uga's, and that one it's mainly just a bar with like music and stuff, but like they have like Star Wars themed mixed drinks like cocktails, and they had like a few beers that you could try. I tried the lager they had, and it was all right. It was pretty hoppy, but it was all right. And then and then I had my build a droid appointment where I made a Chief's red droid R2D2, and they have like these personality chips that you could do to like make them do different sounds like in beeps and whatever, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, being a Florida man for the week was a breath of fresh air because I feel like after the vacation, like I've just been more calm or in a sense. But yeah, the weather was nice most days except for the off and on rain on uh Tuesday or Monday, I should say, and it was freaking worth it buying that Jedi cloak. I tell you what. Other than that, when I wasn't at the parks, I was at my hotel watching YouTube, and every once in a while, I would be playing Ratchet and Clank on my Steam Deck. And then obviously going to sleep at a decent time because I had to go get up in the morning afterwards. But Spennis, how have you been?
Well, this has been a very, very interesting 2 weeks because for the better part of the first week, my voice went. So I ended up a little hoarse. And so it was definitely a good thing that that we decided not to do a podcast last week because I probably would have already said it was like, yeah, vocal rest would have been needed.
And now you're back in the
My
saddle again.
voice is back. Had a small little road trip, of course, to Dave and Buster's in Gaithersburg. So I ended up out there in G-Burg, um, for some dinner and arcade games, and then basically kind of what's really been the big thing now is that it's wedding week. It's it's the week of that, and then I will have time out at sea and out of the country next week. So there will be so as a heads up, there will be no episodes for Ruckus and the Menace at least for the next week, possibly two, depending on how quickly I get things kind of set up and connected and rolling. But I'm gonna say at least 1 week off for sure.
Yeah, we can always take 2 weeks off if we need to. Or I could do like a short episode where I just kind of do like a quick summary and stuff too. That could
Yeah,
work.
but I think we're probably. I'm gonna try as best as I possibly can to try and push for it only being 1 week.
Yeah. No worries, no rush, dude. Enjoy your time with the wedding. Also, congratulations,
Definitely, yes. Thank you.
and I'm very happy for you and your significant other.
Yeah.
And hopefully the wedding is a success and
Yeah.
everything plans out.
Yeah,
Is it like an
definitely.
indoor thing or is it
Yeah,
outdoors?
we're indoors, so
That's a good
it's
thing.
not as especially because weather's gonna be a little dicey, but we
Yeah.
got this.
All right, let's get into. Are you ready to hit this starting
Yep.
lineup with a
Starting
bang?
lineup. Yep. And we're gonna start on a little bit of a somber note as some news kind of happened today. Basketball Hall of Famer, Knicks legend, and NBA champion Willis Reed passed away at 80 years old today. He was, of course, known for being the Knicks center for their championship back in the 70s, and he and most notably, Curtis Blow would say that Willis Reed stood so tall, and And as a center, of course, he was going to stand very tall. But to kind of keep up with the basketball realm of things, we the Sweet 16 round, the first two rounds of each of the men's and women's basketball NCAA basketball tournaments have kicked off. We are going to start with the women in the East region in Greenville. The first Greenville region. The Sweet 16 consists of two games of South Carolina and UCLA, Notre Dame and Maryland. So pretty much for the better part of it, the first Greenville region went chalk, with the only exception of Mississippi State beating Creighton. In the second Greenville region, the Sweet 16 matchups consist of the Convender Twins and the University of Miami taking on Villanova, and on the other side you have LSU and Utah. So that's going to be solid. I see South Carolina coming out, and now it'll probably be likely. I'm going to say likely LSU is going to come out of that other half of the Greenville regions. And then the second half, the bottom half with Seattle. Ole Miss stunned Stanford in the second round to make it to the Sweet 16, where they will play Louisville, and Colorado and Iowa. I think Iowa is going to come out of that side of the bracket. And then the other half of the Seattle side, you have Virginia Tech taking on Tennessee and Ohio State taking on UConn. I am hopeful that UConn comes out of that side. So I think now it'll be... So now I'm hoping for South Carolina. I picked South Carolina to win it all over UConn for the women. But the women have mostly surprisingly gone chalk for the better part of it, with very few upsets kind of going around.
Yeah, and when it came to the women's versus the men's, like as far as like the scoreboards, when I was looking at them when we were doing our writing, I was like really confused because I was like, wait, isn't it just 2 quarters? And then you're like, you had to quickly correct me saying that the women's was 4.
The women's is 4 quarter. The women recently had their thing redone, their game structure redone to 4 10-minute quarters within the last 5 years that happened.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the men play 2 halves. And we now move on to the men's tournament. We're going to go to the South region. The 4 teams remaining in the South region are Alabama, San Diego State, Creighton, and Princeton. Princeton was a 15 seed that stunned Arizona and then Missouri. I see here, I'm hopeful that Alabama makes it to the Final Four at this point. But it's going to be very interesting to see if it'll be the Princeton Tigers or the Creighton Blue Jays that make it to the Elite Eight. In the Midwest region, the 4 teams remaining are Houston, Miami, Xavier, and Texas.
Yeah, KU lost tonight, like even to make it to Sweet 16.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that point down there because the Jayhawks were in the West region.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping that Houston makes the Final Four over Texas. Honestly, the only major upsets that we saw in this section of the bracket, Pitt beating Iowa State as an 11-6, Penn State beating Texas A&M. But now the fun begins in the West region. The 4 teams remaining in the West region are Arkansas, UConn, Gonzaga, and UCLA. I believe that the winner of Gonzaga UCLA will make the Final Four. And Arkansas beat Kansas by 1 point to stun them.
Just ask you a quick question. So the Gonzaga UCLA, are those two teams like the better teams out of all the regions, or is it just like something that you had a gut feeling for? I was just curious.
Well, you have each side broken down into, like, when they select the teams, they divide them up into regions. So say you have a number 1 seed that is in each region. So the number 1 seeds were Alabama, Houston, Kansas, and Purdue.
Okay.
And then then the 2 seeds will get divided into 3 seeds. So each of these are each of these regions that I'm speaking of are a 16-team pod. And the winner out of each pod makes the Final Four.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the winner of this Gonzaga UCLA game is likely going to be the heavy favorite to go into the Final Four.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're in regional semifinals right now. The next one we have is Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, and Kansas State, Michigan State. The East region was full of so many upsets, including Fairleigh Dickinson, Florida Atlantic, then going in. Well, Florida Atlantic being a 9 seed in the Sweet 16. Number 7, Michigan State beating Marquette, who was a 2 seed. Oh, and then on top of that, in the South region, also Virginia, number 4 Virginia lost to Furman. So there really wasn't a lot. There was a lot of chalk that happened, but it was more shocking of certain particulars that kind of came along the way. But this year it's been interesting. Games have been close. Games have been back and forth. Brackets being busted left and right. So good luck to those who are still contending inside of your bracket pools at this point in time, because normally the Sweet 16 round is typically the one that I like to call where brackets go to die. And if your bracket even dares survive, I mean, perfection gets lost. Well, perfection gets lost in the first round. However, perfection gets lost in the first round. Separation occurs in round 2. The Sweet 16 is where the main national champions go to die. The Elite 8 is for the lucky ones. And then if you manage to get any good amount of the Final Four right, you have picked very well with a national champion.
Or you're a cheater like Biff that goes Back to the Future.
But that's not the point.
All right. You want me to talk about the World Baseball Classic now, or what are we thinking?
Great Scott. Great Scott. I completely missed that.
All right.
The World Baseball Classic should be fun. Should be a good thing to go from there.
Dude.
Because we don't need to worry about the Cubs winning the World Series again.
Woohoo! So, well, at least not until 2025 or whatever they thought originally.
I believe it's 2026.
I thought they said it was it was in like the second Back to the Future. It was 2015 or wait, was it
Yeah, it was
20?
it was 2015. It was 2015. They were off by a year.
Okay. Um, but yeah. Anywho, so the World Baseball Classic, I didn't really start paying attention a whole lot to it until they started doing elimination games. But the elimination aspect of it made things a whole lot better. And we'll kind of debate this, do a debate topic on this here in a sec. But I'm just gonna get into the main highlights of this really quick. So the main meat and potatoes of the World Baseball Classic was when the U.S. played Venezuela, and this is the game where Altuve gets hitting his hand on a hit by pitch, um, against Daniel Bard, the reliever for the USA. And that game was like neck and neck for the most part. And it was actually interesting as like both teams were like chomping at the bit at each other to like win that game. And Venezuela was short, but they had a hell of a fight with the US, and I believe that was the game that Trey Turner hit the go ahead grand slam to give them a 2-run lead and then eventually take the rest of it with them. And then Japan Italy was another game that kind of showcased what Japan had that Italy did not have. Italy got very lucky early on in the tournament by getting some hits across and scoring on those opportunities with Vinny Pasquantino and Nicky Lopez and the Fletcher brothers. Um, and then the Japan Italy game went to eventually it was Mexico and I believe one other team that they I think
Was it Puerto Rico or the Dominican
yeah,
Republic?
yeah, yeah. It was Puerto Rico, Mexico, and Mexico ended up I believe Mexico ended up winning that game, and Randy Rosarena got hot right at the right time with the other guys following suit with him. But they ended up falling short in the Mexico Japan game as Japan, and that game was neck and neck too till the very end too, kind of like the Venezuela USA game. But the Team Japan um, the last laugh near the end, and Mexico was trying to come back after Japan tied the game with a game tying home run by Yoshida of the Boston Red Sox. Um, and then Shohei got a rally started late in the ninth inning, I believe, and his teammate after him hit a walk-off double to secure the victory for Japan. And then we get to the finals, which was Japan USA. And this game was kind of a snooze fest, and not in the way of like a blowout, just the pure aspect of it being a very tightly knit game and not a whole lot of offense being done. Granted, the USA got to an early 1-0 lead with a Trey Turner home run to give the USA the lead for the moment. And then the next half inning, I don't remember who the player was, but I was watching both the World Baseball Classic final and a Royal Spring Training game that was on Bali. And so I was kind of paying attention to both of those at the same time. And Japan got in tied the U.S. that next half inning while I was in the middle of watching the Worlds game. And then the U.S. kind of struggled for like a good 6 or 7 innings after that because their offense just could not handle the starter for Japan because he was kind of doing some like off speed stuff and doing some sinkers and whatnot that would make Team USA pretty much pop into a can of corn kind of scenarios where they would get people on base with like little small hits here and there, but they just couldn't get the runner that from those to score from those hits. But eventually, Japan wins it 3-2 after a very felt effort by the U.S. as they fell short, um, with Trout getting struck out by his Angels teammate Shohei Ohtani, which that was a sight to see. I tell you what. Um, that was an interesting one because they were pretty much hyping it up all night that Shohei and Mike Trout would like face each other in an at bat, and they finally did it as Mike Trout was the last batter that Shohei faced to secure the victory and the World Baseball Classic trophy to Team Japan as they defeat the US 3-2 in the finals.
That was a very good finish to a World Baseball Classic that kind of was a little bit polarizing
And
in some regards.
can I finish off the World Baseball Classic thing with this debate really quick? This is kind of like a shorter one.
Well,
What?
if we're hitting good, bad, and ugly territory, which I think we've kind of crossed in, you know exactly what to do.
Hold on, give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. Hold up. You got me. All right. The good, the bad, the ugly. Wah wah wah. And it probably didn't come through on your end, but
Close enough. Close enough.
um. All right. So our good this week.
We just kind of went through that with
So the World Baseball
very
Classic.
competitive tournament.
Um.
Very competitive tournaments.
Yes, yes, sir. And then the bad this week was World Baseball Classic injuries, as there was the injury to Edwin Diaz, which was the first really rough injury, as he I believe ruptured his patellar tendon when he was celebrating with the homies after they won the game on the field. He busted his leg, and now he's out for the rest of the season. And then there was
Did he not learn from Kendrys Morales? Did he not learn from Bill Grammatica? Did he not learn from all these other people that jumping around like as if you're a part of the House of Pain will end up leaving you in pain?
Well, I feel like it's one of those freak injuries, kind of like how Kendrys Morales had it. Because in a sense, because like there have been many times where there have been freak injuries in sports, like the Louisville March Madness man that happened, like I think in 2014 or 2015.
Kevin Ware. Oh, that was a gruesome
That
injury.
was freaking horrible to look at.
And the Paul George one was bad too.
You telling me, buddy? Whoo. Speaking of which, he's also recently went down, and there was like a whole debate about that on ESPN a couple days ago, with Paul George being possibly out for the season. But also back on topic with World Baseball Classic. Jose Altuve with the broken hand, he's probably gonna miss like at least a month with the Astros. And then the next, I think it was like the next inning or the next game, Nolan Arenado gets hit in the hand with the pitch and then was substituted out. And I was just kind of like, oh my god, here we go again. But man, back to what I was saying about the World Baseball Classic with the debate really quick.
These games should be played in November.
Honestly, I don't really think it would matter a whole lot if they play it in November, because either way, a player will get injured at some point,
Yeah, that's
and
baseball.
right, and a lot of people are like and this has been said for many times they've done the World Baseball Classic. I've heard this from family and relatives. I've heard this on the internet, and hell, we're talking about it right now. I think the World Baseball Classic shouldn't be canceled because
Oh,
here's the thing. During the off season, when all the players are supposedly quote unquote supposed to be like resting or have their own leisure to do whatever, as long as it's in the terms fits the terms of the team's contract. Um, I think that injuries are gonna happen, random accidents are gonna happen, whether you're in the middle of a season or not. Um, and I think the World Baseball Classic should continue to happen because I think it's a cool little playoff experience that the players get to experience, not only to like represent their country, but also it gives them like a little bit of an advantage to like, in a sense, um, prepare for like the actual season rather than doing these what it feels like is a like resort day at like at a vacation spot or something. To me, that's how it feels in a way for like the starters usually, because they get like probably half the game and then they swap out the prospects and younger minor league players to swap in their spots anyways. But anyway, my problem with people saying that the World Baseball Classic should be canceled is it doesn't matter if they're playing in March or April without their teams, or if they were playing after the season was over and the team that won the World Series won the World Series. Because the bottom line is, people are going to be tired no matter what. People are going to be, the players are going to be pretty much playing in their home cities or countries and whatnot. Like, there was the games that happened in February where it was like the Dominican, I think it was like a Dominican league or something like that, or
yeah,
a
some of them and some of those players go down and possibly do some sort of things with them.
yeah, and
I
like Salvador Perez was one of those players, and people are saying, "Oh, good for him," or there were the people that said like, "Hey, we should rest him," or all this other crap. But the bottom line is, if I feel like if you're a professional athlete, you want to try to at least keep loose in a sense
yeah,
without like
that's
really
why
hurting
I was
yourself.
saying that was why I was saying play them in November while they're still loose.
But they're still gonna do off-season stuff no matter what. But my point was, I mean, it sounds like a better idea to do it in November, but then like it kind of, I don't know. To me, it kind of feels like, okay, well, after that, then you have the tournament, but you don't know how many players are actually wanting to get involved in that after they were in like the playoffs or whatever already. I mean, it could kind of be like one of those things where it's like in March Madness, whenever you had that, is it like the net or what's
So
the
I mean, you have the cutting of the nets, but I'm
no,
saying
no,
that
not like
with
that. Like I was talking about, there's like a tournament. I forgot what it was called. I thought it started with an N.
oh, there is an NIT,
Yeah, that's what I was
but
talking about. But like still like I feel like it's not gonna matter either way. And if you cancel the World Baseball Classic, you're just, I feel like at that point you're losing out on monetization and other opportunities with the sport, and you're also taking away jobs for people to broadcast the game, like the broadcast announcers and the people that actually work on the game. You're losing money on that, and the venues that would have taken uh, and hosted those teams, like the Tokyo Dome, they would have lost money. Miami would have lost money. Arizona would have lost money because they were hosting for some of those pools, and like other places, like it's a no-brainer. Just keep doing it. It's Players are gonna get hurt. That's just the game of baseball. Anyways, Spennis,
Yep.
what is there
But
anything else in the bad for sports?
I don't. I mean, granted that we said the big name college teams going down early, that's beside the point. Let's just go straight into the ugly because, I mean, you obviously have a World Baseball Classic thing here.
All right, so the downright ugly for this week was there were protesters in Miami for the Cuba USA World Baseball Classic semifinal, and they were protesting the age-old political deal between Cuba and USA that's been going on since like the Cold War. It was more just like random political stuff. I thought it was ugly at the time, but also you had something for a certain NFL player. Do you want to go over that or
Which one? Oh, with the NFL Pro. Oh,
the a certain New York Jet or possible New York Jet?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My downright ugly this week involves Aaron Rodgers because he's interested in becoming a New York Jet.
He's got
However,
some weapons.
he's got a caveat as to. I mean, he would have great weapons at the Jets, even though they just traded one away to Cleveland.
But also, they also gain a jet, and literally the jet, McCall Hardman, because he recently signed today too.
Yeah.
1 year, $6 million.
But with all the weapons that they'd have, Garrett Wilson. I mean, you had Garrett Wilson
Lazard.
before you had released him. Lazard was part of the. Well, Lazard was part of the issue. Lazard was part of the issue. That doesn't count.
Okay.
Yeah, because the issue was that Lazard. I'm saying that Lazard was in the caveat.
Oh, I was just talking about like the weapons he has now that are on the Jets that he would possibly be a part of.
But I was
anyways,
saying
go
that.
ahead.
But I was saying that I was going more in the weapons that were there before Rodgers even dared tried.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson was there. They had Braxton Berrios before cutting him. They had Elijah Moore before trading him. Why do you need to go and say, "Hey, we need to target OBJ. We need to target OBJ." And all
Randall
these other
Cobb
people.
was one of the other people, I think, too.
Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, try and get Alan Lazard. And this is just to even have a shot at having Aaron Rodgers go there. This is just for them to even have a chance at getting him. I don't even think there's a guarantee that the Jets have him.
Yeah, that's what kind of pisses me off about this whole thing, because they're like talking about it all the goddamn time on ESPN, like, oh, Aaron Rodgers watch. It's like, who gives a shit? This guy is old and washed up, and like, yes, it's like one of the only things to talk about in sports right now, besides what happens in free agency. But the man hasn't been traded yet. And the funny thing is, it feels like the Jets now have put pretty much all their eggs into one basket, and then forgot to like separate them out a little bit, just so that one player could possibly be a landing spot for the Jets. Because what if this whole time they're hyping up Aaron Rodgers being a New York Jet turned out to be well, either he stays a Packer or he gets traded somewhere else. And it just turns out, well, Zach Wilson or other quarterback to be determined as a New York Jet goes there instead of Rodgers. Like, this would have been all for nothing, and it just sounds so stupid, in my opinion, if he doesn't go to the Jets. It's like all this hype for nothing.
Right. But now that we've kind of started into our little bit of the NFL talk, we can go right into the the high heat in talking about some of the summaries of free agency. And the first thing is the heavy hitting moves.
The Bears. The Bears trading up top overall pick to Carolina for DJ Moore was a big one. I believe that was 2 second or I think it was like a second and third round pick and some cash incentives for DJ Moore. Maybe I don't remember. I just remember they traded some picks and some cash for DJ Moore, and now I think you got Mooney and Moore and some other guys now. Some unexpected moves that I saw. Andrew
Well,
Wiley.
I'm gonna start with some heavy. I was gonna start with some heavy hitting first.
Oh, go
You
for it.
got
Sorry.
You've got Orlando Brown going to Cincinnati.
For less money.
Darius Slay staying in Philadelphia. The Saints signing Jamal Williams, also known as the first swag Kazakage, to a 3-year deal. There were definitely a lot of big things.
Yeah, and then like Colin Saunders is now a Saint. 2-time Super Bowl champ with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then
you have the Jalen Ramsey deal.
That was a good one.
And the Jalen Ramsey deal. Lamar Jackson's non-exclusive franchise tag that's kind of hanging around.
Andrew Wiley to the Commanders.
Well, that's definitely a good deal. Like, that's definitely a good deal.
Dude, that was a sneaky good deal. Holy shit. Like
the Cowboys trading for the Texans basically getting Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz, extending Laramie Tunsil.
Did you see the signing for Ronald Jones for the Cowboys since Ezekiel Elliott got released?
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott getting cut. Yep.
Baker Mayfield to the Buccaneers as he goes on his Tampa journey to being a Florida man.
Jimmy Garoppolo to Las Vegas.
We'll talk a little bit about that in the color commentary. Impact move that our teams made though. What was yours?
Though the one I would hopefully say is Dan Snyder leaving town. Dan Snyder packing it up and leaving the Commanders.
As we would say, hit the road, Jack. Never come
and don't
back.
You come back.
No more. Hit the road, Jack. So an impactful move that the Chiefs.
But the one that I'm going to throw in there was one from your Chiefs to us, Eric Bieniemy.
And he's actually brought some good players over to your team too, not just Andrew Wiley.
Yeah.
But he's done like I believe Marcus Kemp, which is a good special teams help.
Yep, Marcus Kemp came to us. Yep.
And then there's probably some other guys, but on our end that we just gained was a upgrade at left tackle or right tackle, wherever we put him. As we were pretty much preparing to not give Orlando Brown Jr. a contract, Jawan Taylor of the Jacksonville Jaguars was a big one. And the stats showed that this season, Orlando Brown gave up about 54 QB pressures, where Jawan Taylor only gave up 14 for the year. That's a big difference. That's a difference between Patrick Mahomes swinging away a bunch instead of, like, I guess, getting, like, first downs or, like, big plays going versus, just straight up trying to stick in the pocket, I guess.
Yeah. All right. And the biggest question that still needs to be answered. I didn't add a second one because this one was huge. Will any team make a move for Lamar Jackson, or is the price point for negotiation too high if the Ravens choose not to match?
I mean, because last season the Ravens traded Hollywood Brown, didn't they, to the Cardinals for?
They traded Hollywood Brown to the Cardinals to primarily move to get the center that they picked up in the draft that was actually pretty good.
So, do you think that Lamar Jackson gets dealt during the draft, or do you think he gets dealt soon after the draft? Because I have a feeling that the Ravens might be looking at a future quarterback, uh, because they still have Tyler Huntley and
They still
other.
have Huntley.
They still have stunt doubles over there in Baltimore for Lamar. So and he still has the franchise tag that he's under, and they can still trade him, and then a team could extend him later. But I don't know if it becomes like a discussion during like the draft where a team takes a gamble and trades for Lamar, and then that team gives, I guess, would they have to make them move up in the draft or give a draft pick for Lamar, or could it just be that Lamar gets traded over to a team and then gets extended, kind of like Devontae Adams did whenever he got?
I think you're giving up picks either way.
Because personally, I don't know because they were saying, what didn't the Ravens say they wanted like 2 second rounds,
first round picks,
2 first
no,
rounds?
it's 2 firsts. It's 2 firsts.
Baltimore, Madden called. They want their reality back. I don't think you're getting 2 first rounders for Lamar, because he'll literally take a dookie in the middle of a game while the team is trying to win a game. So I mean, I don't I I don't think you're gonna get 2 first round picks. Maybe someone's dumb enough to do it, or gutsy enough, I should say, to do it, but hell no, I wouldn't do that for a guy that pretty much puts his body on the line like every play by just running the ball instead of like using his arm most of the time, and he's also not very controlled and he doesn't really have what I would say is like the biggest QB IQ when it comes to like understanding the defense and how that moves around, because he mainly just runs the damn ball. That's why I always call him a running back instead of a quarterback, because it's just like he's mainly running around.
He is what you call a flight risk.
Yep. A little turbulence here, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, let's get into the color commentary, as this week's color commentary is rating free agency moves, and we have a scale from sneaky, which is sneaky good in a good way, to that's all right, to straight up poop. Like literally on the sheet, it shows a poop emoji. All right.
I see what you were trying to do there.
Yeah. So here's the first one. Jimmy G to the Raiders. Do you think it's sneaky, decent, or poop? Because I believe it's a 4-year or 5-year deal. Or maybe it was even 3. I just remember it was like 4 years, 60-some million with like 30-something million guaranteed.
Here's the first major thing that makes me kind of have to downgrade this deal a little bit. It's going to get mentioned here a little later, but the Giants now have the tight end. The Raiders had traded away Darren Waller.
And they only got like a couple draft picks from the Giants, which they could probably turn into something in the draft, but we don't know what's going to happen in the draft just yet.
Yeah, is it really going to be worth a tight end?
I mean, they could go in later in the draft and get one of the more sought after tight ends. I don't even remember his name, but there was a lot of talk about it in the Kansas City sports world this week as they were trying to there were talks about getting a future Travis Kelce kind of versatile player.
I think there are a lot of caveats involved with this. How well does he communicate with Devontae Adams to get him the ball? How well does Andrew Wiley, or how far does Andrew Wiley need to move to even consider having a pickup for the Tiger, or well, not for the Tiger, the for some
Commanders,
of the other, well, not the Commanders.
because Andrew Wiley's a commander.
Yeah. Oh no, I was saying for Devontae Adams was what I was like. As long
I'm like,
no, Jimmy G will have Devontae Adams as number one wide receiver.
And I believe Renfro still there?
Renfro should still be there. Yes.
Okay,
So
I didn't know if he was a free agent or not.
He has a couple of effective wide receivers to get the ball to. So I think that this move for Jimmy G is decent, and I'm gonna say it's about a 7.5. It's truly about a 7.5 to about a 7.75 out of 10. I think it's good.
I think it's kind of. I feel like it was going to happen because there was a lot of hype over him going to the Raiders after Derek Carr got put into the shop, so to speak. But it wasn't like we're gonna do this, because before even Brady retired, they were thinking, oh, Brady's gonna go to the Raiders, he's gonna go here, he's gonna go there, he's gonna go to the Fountain of Youth. But like, I don't know, Jimmy G to the Raiders kind of reminds me of when Carson Palmer got traded from the Bengals, I believe, to the Raiders, so to speak, back in the day, and I don't know. I think Jimmy G still has enough in the tank. He just needs to stay healthy. Like, that broken foot kind of like took him out of the mix for the 49ers, but like, hey, the 49ers had a good run either way, no matter who they put on the field, as long as that offense around him was good. I say decent for that one. The next one I have is Derek Carr to the Saints.
Well, Derek Carr is going to have Alvin Kamara, maybe Alvin Kamara, but Jamal Williams, Michael Thomas, Marquez Callaway, maybe, and whatever other weapons he could have in New Orleans. However, I don't know if the weapons are going to be good enough. I'm going to say decent, but this one is a little closer to a 6 rather than a 7.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one, because like, maybe he does a little bit better, but you gotta have healthy players. I mean, they still have, don't they have, why am I blanking on his name? One of the Ohio State wide receivers from last year's draft. Olave.
Chris Olave. Yeah, I forgot they had Olave as well.
Olave didn't really perform all that well, I don't think, did he? Or was he kind of under the radar? Because
He wasn't bad. He wasn't bad.
Because there was a lot of talk about George Pickens with the Steelers too, and he had a pretty good season as well. But like Olave, yeah, I think will do decent. I think he might have a big year.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say, yeah, this deal's decent.
I'm gonna say decent as well. I was kind of on the fence with the poop, but I think he'll do okay. Sam Darnold to the 49ers.
That deal is terrible. I mean, granted that this is a placeholder for Trey Lance
and Purdy.
But and where I'm going with this is that this deal is a big old pile of poo. It's not even. And I will say this: it is to the point that I am even going to give the rating on it a number 2.
Yeah, I think it's a sneaky deal because I didn't see it coming, but I don't see it as a sneaky good deal. I'm gonna give it a poop as well. Poop emoji, poop emoji, poop emoji.
All
Um,
right. So
and
now the next
then
one here is the Darren Waller trade to the Giants.
I think that one's a sneaky one, like a sneaky good deal, because you have Daniel Jones, who had a, I guess, career year, you could say. And I think before Darren Waller was the tight end for the Giants, I believe it was Zach Rudolph, the former Vikings tight end, or Mason. I don't remember. I think it was
Kyle
Zach.
Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph. It was a
Kyle
Rudolph.
Rudolph.
I was correct on the last name. Kyle Rudolph. For whatever reason I thought it was a Zach. But regardless, they had a semi decent tight end for the Giants until Kyle Rudolph, I guess, went somewhere else. And now they're back to a semi decent tight end while also having Darius Slayton, I
Yeah,
believe.
Darius Slayton. Yep.
And then they still have who else did they sign again? Or still have.
Hmm.
But
That I
bottom
think.
line is I think it's
Oh,
good that the
they
Giants have
still do
Darren
have
Waller.
Saquon. Oh, they
Oh,
still have
okay.
Saquon, and they re-signed the Dimes.
Yeah. So I think Darren Waller to the Giants is a sneaky good deal because I didn't see it coming, and I didn't see the offseason move for that until like I was at dinner at Magic Kingdom. I was like looking at the deals while I was waiting for food to come. All right.
Yeah, and I think that we can kind of quietly like skip over those other ones because I don't think that any of those deals are like worth writing home about.
What, the
I mean,
Thielen, Dalton, and Sanders? I think that those are kind of decent, but Juan Thornhill to
yeah,
the Browns is also a decent one.
yeah. I mean, they're not. They're like they're kind of in that nothing to write home about. All right. So previously on the primetime game, before we had the little break, we picked our poisons with AL players. This one is just a ruckus challenge of spot the error. So there are three of these, but I've written a few statements here. There's something wrong in the statement. If Ruckus finds the error, he gets a point. If he finds and corrects the error, he gets 2 points. There is a 3-point one in here as well. Okay. So the first one. In the latest MLB The Show trailer for the Legends, especially the new ones in the game, new legend players such as Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, David Wright, and closing pitcher Jake Peavy will be in the game.
So,
Spot the error.
first Mark McGuire, and then David Wright was also wrong, and Jake Peavy. So the thing that I want to kind of correct, one of them is Buck O'Neil. One of them's got to be a pitcher. So, crap. Uh, this is where my Negro Leagues knowledge is not the best. So I think one of them is Buck O'Neil. One of them is Jackie Robinson, maybe, and then the other one I think is Tuto Jackson, maybe, or maybe.
Here is this had nothing to do with the Negro Leagues.
Oh,
This had nothing to do with the Negro Leagues. The MLB The Show Twitter
were you saying
just
Legends? God damn
like
it!
as far as legend players, these guys actually were just recently announced into the game as McGuire, Sosa, and Wright had been announced on MLB The Show Twitter, and Jake Peavy had already been announced into the game. However, Jake Peavy is not a closer. Jake Peavy's a starter.
I probably should have just asked for you to repeat that, because that whole time I was thinking in my head the advertisement for the Negro League stuff that they kept on showing on the World Baseball Classic, and that had nothing to do with. I mean,
Yeah,
for
this tweet was this was unveiled via Twitter.
okay, yeah, all right. So do I at least get half a point for saying that Jake Peavy was wrong, or no?
Peavy was correct. Actually, it was the position of the player.
Okay.
It was his position. It was his position. It was the wrong word was closing when it needed to be starting.
Also, I apologize in advance. I was thinking more of like historical legends, so that could technically count for the Negro Leagues. Anyways, let's go to the next one.
Okay. Last Friday, Purdue was knocked out by Fairleigh Dickinson, a 16-seeded team who defeated a top-seeded team in the NCAA tournament for the first time in the history of the event. This one's the three-pointer, by the way.
I feel like weren't they? I have a feeling it wasn't Fairleigh. It was. I honestly don't know. Was the right answer supposed to be that it wasn't Fairleigh and it was supposed to be someone else?
No, it was Fairleigh Dickinson.
Okay, so
it was indeed Fairleigh Dickinson. So
okay. I just don't know what the oopsie was from that one.
What if I told you that it wasn't the first time that it was done?
I would believe you.
Because Fairleigh Dickinson's victory over Purdue as far as the 16-1 matchup was the second time it had happened. But who was the team that did the victory portion of it first?
Was it Arkansas, Kansas?
Nope. Arkansas was an 8, and this happened about a few years back.
Oh, was it that Christian college from?
Not Loyola Chicago. Loyola Chicago was above a 16 seed.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking too. God damn, I don't know. FIU, I guess.
Nope, it is UMBC defeating Virginia.
Oh.
A few years back. Okay. And the last one. Jamal Williams, who played his college football at Boise State, signed a new contract to play for the New Orleans Saints after playing for the Detroit Lions last season. Where's the error?
I think it's the Boise State.
Yep, that's one.
Did you say that he played high school for Boise State?
Played college.
Okay,
you're right. You're right that Boise State is wrong.
Did he play for Alabama?
Nope. BYU. Brigham Young University.
Okay. So I got 2 points out of the whole thing.
Yeah, that was a little rough, but hey, I mean, I tried to give you ones that were somewhat easy.
Yeah. I think my first mistake was thinking for whatever reason that legends were in the same realm as the I don't know. Part of me, I think, just went into La La Land.
The the Negro League players are still legends. It was just that another trailer dropped, probably where you didn't see it.
Yeah.
But
That's cool that
that was
McGuire's in the game though. And
Yep.
who else? David Wright and Jake Peavy. I don't.
Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa's
Oh
also
yeah, wasn't Sammy Sosa in the game like a couple years ago?
No.
They didn't like advertise him later in the game. I thought they maybe did like one of those Higashi, was it Takashi packs with
Nope.
like the
Was
Japanese?
Nope. He was not a Takashi player.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, you learn something new every day, people.
Yep. So now we go to our stud and dud.
Where the heck did you put it in the dock?
It's at the bottom, like it always is.
Are
I'm
do
on the
we have?
slide.
I don't. Oh, okay. For some reason, it wasn't loaded, but it was also. Oh, okay. It's a tall slide. Anyways, sorry. My stud this week, I kind of alluded to it earlier from the World Baseball Classic, but Trey Turner with the go-ahead grand slam in the 8th of the quarterfinal against Venezuela, and then he hit 2 dingers against Cuba, and then he hit another one in the first inning against Japan. The man is on fire, and I call him my stud for this week.
Yep. My stud this week went to Julius Randle for scoring the first 50-point game by a Knick since Carmelo Anthony against the Minnesota Timberwolves in spite of the Knicks losing. My dud this week goes to the New England Patriots for pitching away Jacoby Myers to the Las Vegas Raiders just to give Juju Smith-Schuster the same type of contract they were going to give to Myers. What's even funnier, Jacoby Myers pitched the ball away in a game against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Funny stuff. I was honestly surprised that Juju signed with the Patriots. Like, I didn't know how much the Chiefs were gonna give Juju, but my guess is they were probably gonna try and give him a incentivized deal again, like they did with last season, and he probably was like, "Screw that! I'd rather just get guaranteed money." But speaking of guaranteed money, my dad this. Go for it.
I'm gonna say, unfortunately, there's no way he's gonna take his Corvette on to Cincinnati.
Yeah, and then my dud this week is Orlando Brown for signing less than instead of staying in KC for what he would have gotten more money for, because I think he had like a 6-year, $120 million extension lined up in Kansas City, but the fact that he didn't have an agent like halfway into like the negotiation and then like waited to like the very last minute to sign a new agent and then try to get something going did not help Orlando Brown at all. And he ended up signing for less money with the Bengals. It was like a 3-year, like $50 million deal, and like the signing bonus was like the biggest thing. But I think he got the short. I think he screwed himself over in that sense.
I guess he just wanted the money up front.
Well, the dude's an idiot for one, because we ended up getting someone better that replaced him that gave up less pressures anyways, but it sucks to see him go, especially since I think we traded him for like a second round pick whenever we took him to upgrade our O-line after the massacre of Super Bowl 55 that we do not speak of. So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you gamble and lose. Sometimes you gamble and win big. It's all pretty much based on luck. No matter how talented the player is, no matter the situation, it's all pretty much based on momentum and luck. But anywho, are we ready to call this episode?
Yep, ready to call it an episode. This will
All
do
right.
it for Ruckus and the Menace podcast this episode. I'm Spence the Menace.
And I'm Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And in this episode and our kind of the 1 year actual episode and talking about the sports section has concluded. In some closing remarks for me and talking about the 1 year, I definitely look forward to year 2 kind of having more sports that are not common to us. We specialize in NFL and MLB, but I also don't mind having the NBA and basketball around. But I want to try and also eventually maybe try and bring more women's sports to the table. More smaller sports like your golfs, your swimmings,
Tennis.
and such. And tennis. Yeah, and soccer, whenever we can find the opportunity for it to properly be done. And I'm looking forward to what year 2 brings to the table.
I think we're also gonna bring some extra sweet chin music as far as how production quality goes for our set, because currently we have just a set background, but I was thinking eventually we would possibly do face cams, but we'll work those details out when we get there. It's not gonna be literally next week or anything like that. It's gonna be something that happens later down the line, but
Our goal was just to get to this point.
Yeah, and honestly, since I can't believe it's already been a year, but I'm also blessed that Alex Mann gave us this idea one night in his live stream a year ago, and I was like, man, I really like to talk about sports. And then Spanish showed up, and he was like, and we were just talking sports while we were in Alex Mann's stream, and me and Alex Mann were playing Tower Unite at the time, and me and Spence were just talking most of the time about sports and other things, and Alex Mann was like, hey, you guys should totally have like a podcast dedicated to this. And I was like, you know what, I think you're onto something, Alex Mann. Shout out to our graphic designer Alex Mann for the amazing thumbnails as always, and for the idea for us to even be here in the first place. I think what we have cultivated and created is it's definitely changed the way I have done things in life as far as just keeping busy, but also I've been wanting to do this kind of stuff since like I was late into high school, late or early into college, but I just didn't know where to go with it. Because most of the time, whenever I would talk sports with friends, they would not they would just be kind of like, "Huh?" or "What?" But they also played a lot of video games, and there was really only one other friend group that really talked about sports, but it was mainly NBA. But like, I don't know. On here, I feel like it to me it kind of feels like one of those like radio shows, and this has been a hell of a lot of fun, and it's always fun picking Spanish's brain and picking on him, and we always pick on each other, and I think this has been a hell of a lot of fun, and I'm glad to have you as a co-host.
Yep. Awesome. Well, that'll do it for us. Do it for us on this episode. Deuces.
Thank you for listening, and make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you want to see future content. Anyways, thank you guys. Have a good one.